Yep, I'm Alison, and I used to feel that I had a very blessed life because I was an international professional dancer, and I call it a Dom Perignon life because we drank a lot of Dom in those days. And then I came back after many years of that and married, and then I moved to the eastern states and then started a dance studio which turned into 5 dance studios. And then I purchased a church, an old church, and renovated it to a dance studio. So life was pretty good. Built the mud brick house on the 3 acres, idealistic kind of lifestyle, raising 2 sons. Everything was what I would call pretty good. Then I became ill with an unknown kind of, no one could give me a diagnosis, so I was misdiagnosed for 4 years. And during that time, my marriage fell apart, and that was pretty traumatic in itself, the way that happened. And it was in the middle of a very bad health period. So from there, things just declined. My husband left, and I was left on the farm really with my dog. That was the only thing I had. And a lot of tumours. Eventually was diagnosed with a lot of tumours throughout my endocrine system, from my brain right through. And then I was very ill. Some of the tumours actually bring mental health problems. And I met a man at that time who I found out later was quite an opportunist. So through my first divorce, I came out okay. I came out with the studio and whatever. And then the second gentleman, if we could call him that, he ended up getting the lot. He was quite clever, even to the point of writing out a will for me, where he neglected to place my children in there because he really thought I was going to die. Honestly, I was very, very ill in Melbourne, and so he left everything to himself and his 3 children. So I came back to Perth. That's how I got back to Perth, because I was so ill. I thought I would die, and the only people I really had here was my mum and dad. And so I did a runner at 50 something. When my brother passed away, I came back to live in Perth. And in the end of that, I decided to stop fighting for everything that I had worked hard for over my entire lifetime. I'd always worked, and I realised the stress of divorce when you're ill is just too much. And so in the end, I just rang my second husband. I said, take it, have the lot, because I don't want to die for the cause. And so I came out of working my entire life with my car, and I think it was $17,000, and really, really ill. I was on a disability pension. And so then trying to live on the DSP with rent and everything, even back in the day, that was like 2008, 9, difficult. And so that 17,000 just whittled away, especially when I had to buy a new car because my then car was written off in the hailstorm that happened. I think that was 2011. So it was like the only possession that I had was written off. And so yeah, I just kind of found myself at really ground zero and questioning my whole life, like everything. And then I'm always a glass half full girl, so I thought, I have to get out of this. And I got well enough to get a job in the mining sector. So I was over the moon. I thought, this is it. I'm going to make enough money just to get myself a little unit that I can call my own again, and lifelong dream to go to Europe. Just want to go to Europe. Wanted that, you know, since 15, because that wasn't on my agenda when I was dancing. But then I was 9 months into mining, loving it, and found myself in a situation where I had to start caring for one of my grandchildren in a full-time capacity. So really reparenting. And that just completely changed my life again. I lost my job mining. They couldn't hold my place open. And yeah, so I started parenting a just 6-year-old in my 50s. And so then I had to jump back on a disability support pension and scramble to try and find myself and a very safe space for my granddaughter, who'd come from a lot of trauma and a lot of neglect and abuse. And so I then devoted many years to her. And then in 2018, 2 more of my grandchildren who, because I raised my children in Victoria, all of my grandchildren were in Vic. So Department of Child Protection sent 2 more children over to be with my son, but mostly me. I had 75% care of them. And that just was a really difficult time. During that time, I also had tumours present again, and I've had several operations. The last one was just this June 2024, so only a couple of months ago. Malignant, and I spent a lot of time running backwards and forwards to Sir Charles Gardner Hospital and to the cancer centre there and Solaris. And, you know, even doing that, just the parking to park at Charlie's, if you're a cancer patient, it's insane. Eventually I found a lady who let me park on her front lawn, and so I could get free parking like that. And I think that's the thing of having poverty in your life. You are constantly under this silent stress of life, living, just general day-to-day living, and you're constantly trying to be creative with how you survive. You know, so you have to have courage to go and knock on someone's door and ask if you can please park on their lawn, you know. And so, yeah, as I said, I see things always half full, glass half full, but you always have to be thinking outside the square, even if it comes to making meals. Like, I collect a food hamper every week to support myself and the grandchildren. But currently, even that situation is changing because the eldest grandchild has finished year 12 now. So I was on a family tax benefit for her. That all ceases. And so now it's back to one payment of a disability support pension. And so the other 2 grandchildren are no longer in my care either, but they're also not in a very good situation. They would have been better to stay in the nurturing space that is here. However, family court is a very unique animal. I don't know what else to call it. A unique, I can't even think of it. I'm wordless. It was a very strong journey, that one. 2 days ago, my glasses broke. And so I called the optometrist, and I had to think out the square again and say, I'm just wondering if these might be on a warranty. I know that they're not. I knew they weren't. But you have to just keep putting things out there to try and do your best. And so I took them down. He couldn't, my glasses were no longer made. And I actually just picked these up today. He said, this is the last pair on the planet, and I will do it on a warranty for you. And I'm like, And I said to him, thank you, I'm so grateful, because you've got no idea what my financial situation has been recently. And so, you know, if I couldn't have my glasses, I'd be in a very poor space. Every week I still get a food hamper, and as grateful as I am, I would love to just be able to go to a supermarket and purchase what I would like to purchase and know that it was fresh and not sort of on the way out. A lot of times I have to soak everything, all the veggies and everything, in water to revitalise, you know, what I get. But you make do with that. And again, that makes you creative, because you don't know what you're going to get in a food hamper. And so you have to become creative in how you cook that and prepare and present a meal, you know. I would love to have gotten a cup of coffee today on the way back from the optometrist. And I had an argument in my head with myself about that. I've got a local coffee shop down there. The coffee's awesome. And I thought, I'd love a coffee. And then I thought, no, just go home. You'll get a coffee at home. A coffee's a coffee. And I know it's not, because that coffee would have just been like, yum. But I came home and made a coffee that wasn't that nice. But it's coffee, and I ate it, and you know, like, it's just, so you're arguing in your head all the time. Will I buy that? No, I will just make a sandwich at home. Will I, you know, so I rarely buy takeaway food or coffees or anything, you know. Anyone who knows me knows I carry a mug, a keep cup with me, and I take my coffee everywhere. But sometimes you would just love to be able to just go out and do it, you know. And you think there's a lot of other people out there who would just think that was quite normal. Do I cry now? So I've rented this home for 15 years, and I've been blessed to be able to stay here, especially having the grandchildren in my care. My landlord is actually just this week knocked on my door and told me he's putting the rent up $50 a week, which my heart just started beating in my chest really heavily, because I thought, oh my God, he doesn't realise my payments from Centrelink have just completely halved. Like, imagine if you just lost half of your income overnight because your circumstances changed, and spending 12 years investing heavily into these children for their futures, and not really looking after my own, and then suddenly being not able to pay your rent. That's frightening. It's really frightening. And so I'm grateful to have a roof over my head. However, this is a home that needs a lot of maintenance. You know, I'm scared to ask for things to be fixed, because I don't want to be thrown out. He's already said to me that they could just paint this place and get $650 a week for it, which is a lot more than what I'm paying. So I am grateful. However, there's always this underlying stress and fear that at any moment I might not have a roof over my head. And as I said to him when he's telling me he's going to put my rent up, the greatest cohort now is women in their 60s, because I'm 66. And so women over 60 who, like me, have maybe lost everything in a divorce or through medical situations, and then find themselves living in their car, you know. And a friend of mine told me recently that a lot of women now go on these speed dating sites just so they can go home and spend in a home for the night, and that's their safety net. But who knows how safe that is? I don't wish to be in that situation. And even if I did, I'd look at it glass half full. But housing to me is my greatest insecurity. Yeah. And so I worry all the time about that. And now I'm having to find ways to think about how I'll find that $50 a week. And that's probably not a lot to a lot of people, but when you're only on a disability pension, it's a lot. Sorry.
You don't have to say sorry.
So yeah, I'm probably going to have to start to look for a job, and that's just a couple of months out of having a massive tumour removed from my stomach. I think you just get into a mode where not doing things is normal. You know what I mean? Poverty for me has become normalised. And so you don't expect to go out and, you know, go to a fancy restaurant or any restaurant really, or movies. I can't remember the last time I went to a movie. Or, I don't know, just things that most people would consider normal in the lucky country, just become far-reaching. I think they're like fantasy kind of thing out there that you would love to do. But no, it's okay. I'll come home and I'll sit and I'll watch TV tonight. You know, I haven't even got Netflix or Foxtel or anything. I have to flick through channels and blip the advertisements, you know, mute them. But anyway, yeah. I did speak at the Senate inquiry on poverty, and I did dress well because that's how I was raised as a boomer. And I said to them, do I look like I'm in poverty to you? And of course they all looked up and said, oh, no. And so for me, I probably will never want to look like that. I'll always cover it up, like my couch, you know. You can see under my couch, it's not so good. And underneath, inside me, quite often it's not so good. It's a silent stress all the time. If I don't eat all of my breakfast, I have to put it in the fridge and I'll save that for a later time. Or, you know, you don't want to use a lot of water in your home. I rarely have a lot of lights on. Like, you're constantly trying to keep your outgoings down, and I don't know, some days my fish died the other day, right? It's just a goldfish, but I found myself grieving about the goldfish, but then I realised I think I'm grieving about so many other things. Just the loss of a goldfish actually brought up a lot of loss and grief about many things in my life. You know, my future, super, a home, travel, freedom, a whole lot of, and so on a bad day, I might let that get to me. I might let the actual poverty thing allow it to sit with me, and I'll spend my time having some tears, you know, like I don't know, it's hard. I'm not a big crier. I don't often cry, and so when I do, it's something's really deeply triggered, and yeah. On a bad day, I probably would just mope around having a bit of a mopey cry day, because far out. How do you get out of this? You know, how do you... I mean, I haven't been able to work because having the grandchildren to raise and investing all of my time and love and energy there, I don't even have a reference for a CV or anything anymore, you know, so... It just goes back and back and back. So if I have to put a CV in for a job to try and get a job, I don't have a reference. I don't know, things just... A bad day's a bad day, you know, no matter how positive I am. Sometimes there are bad days. I would love to feel secure in my home situation, in my living situation. Security there. I said to my son the other day, I'm nearly 70. And I'm thinking, far out. That's only 20 years off dead for me. I would love to have the last part of my life feeling secure at some level. Especially to know that I could close my door at night and take a sigh and just go, yeah, no, this is mine and I'm never going to be kicked out, or the rent's not going to go up, or whatever. I think if you have a sense of security like that, nothing else can touch it in a way. It wouldn't matter if I ate baked beans every meal. I wouldn't care. I would have that dome of, I could make it a serene and nice place. Even if it was little, it would be mine. That's what I need for my life. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't ever make a judgment about somebody or their life by looking at them, because what you see is not necessarily the reality. People are very good at creating an illusion, to keep a sense of pride and to keep a sense of dignity, even though they may not have the financial wherewithal to live like that properly. But if you see somebody, don't ever make a judgment on them. Whether they look like they're poor and in poverty, or whether they don't look like they're poor and in poverty. Yeah, just be kind. There's that saying, be kind, because you just don't know what somebody else is going through on any given day. So just be kind.
And equally, if you could say something to other people who are also going through similar situations, living below the poverty line,
yeah,
what would that be? What would you say?
Don't give up. Don't give up. Just have your glass half full. As hard as that is sometimes, stay positive and believe that you're going to find a way out. Just try and have some kind of belief and faith that it'll work out. And I find that staying positive somehow works in a way that positive things come back to you. Even if it's like the lady giving me free parking because I have to go to Charlie Gardner's for clinics, for treatments, for all this. That's a positive for me. So what we give out, we'll get back. And it's okay to have a slump day. It's okay to have a not so positive day, but get back on the horse. Don't stay off the horse. Just keep riding. We'll get there in the end, hopefully. And for us not to be judgmental on other people either. People who have money, or people who we might think have money. I accidentally fell into a 5-star coffee shop with a friend of mine who came from Melbourne recently, and she took me for a coffee, and it was in Cottesloe, where she was living, and I was just amazed at what I saw in this beautiful restaurant. And then I found myself feeling like, I wish that, part of me wished that was me. And then I found myself going, don't be judging other people. You don't know what their situation is either. Do you know? So for other people not to judge us, being in poverty, on the poverty line, but for us also not to get cynical or hard about what other people appear to have, as because we don't have it, kind of thing. So yeah, stay positive. be on the horse and keep riding. One wish. It's going to sound ridiculous. Win lotto. You know, it's like...
Money is the answer.
Money, you know, as much as I'm all about love, heart, care, you know, I gave my life for these children, but money would have helped. Money would have helped in so many ways, you know, and yeah, we could say, you know, I feel a bit bad saying money, but we live in a world where money is the currency that provides the things, the basics that you need. And unless you're living in a commune, which most of us aren't, money is what you need. Yeah, so I don't know. I'll start looking for jobs. Well, I did a budget recently, and just with all the outgoings that are just normal, general, like your car insurance, your driver's license. My driver's license just came in. Your just petrol every week. You know, like you have to get petrol on a cheap Tuesday, and you have to. I try and do a lot of things as I drive around. Like I set a plan so that I don't drive my car out too much. I try and do many things on the one trip. Oh. Yeah, so my budget was like 700 a week outgoings. And well, that's going to go up by 50 a week now. But the DSP, I think, is about 1,100 or something. So like, it doesn't cut it, really. So that's how you get into credit card debt. And I've been there before.
So DSP provides you with 1,100 every
fortnight.
Fortnight.
Yes, sorry, that's a fortnight.
So 750 your budget, which is 1,500. So we're already short.
I'm already short.
$300-400.
Yeah, but you stay positive. You'll get a food hamper, you know, and you'll do things like that to try and counteract and counterbalance the deficit. I think there's lots of reasons for people falling into living on the poverty line, and well, for myself, definitely the health issues. I mean, when you've got tumours in every endocrine gland in your body, and you're just fighting to stay alive, there's no way that you can go and look for a job. You know, then even in recovery, you know, there's always an operation. There's a recovery time for all of that. Mental health comes from the stress of some of these things as well, you know. Like, I don't do drugs. I don't drink alcohol to excess. I don't gamble. I don't, like, so I'm not in poverty because I waste my money. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of people would be like me, I'm sure. And we can judge people and go, oh, they're a drug addict, or they're this or that. And so, you know, serve themselves right. But for a lot of people, it's not that. And I don't know, just, you know, sorry, I'm going to go back. You asked me the question before, one thing that I would want, it actually would be no stress. It would be no stress in my life. And to de-stress my life, but then that would come with the security of having a home for myself. And my granddaughters are always in and out. They're, you know, I need a spare room because they're always going to be in and out. But yeah, stress is an underlying killer. And to have no stress and a calmness to my life, that's what I would wish. Yeah. But I don't have that right now. Even in my recovery, I keep telling myself, don't stress, don't stress. But there's this underlying, there's always this thing in your chest, you know, that's just a quivering that's there. So,
Thanks, Alison.
You're welcome.
How do you feel?
How do I feel? I feel like crying. I really feel like crying again. I feel like far out when you actually sit and you see the reality of it, because I don't look at the reality of it all the time. I try and live in the she'll be right, mate kind of thing. But then if you actually just sit and you just talking about the reality of it brings it home. And so I feel like crying.
And you're a very positive person.
I'm really positive.
And I know that you choose that mindset because the other side of it is not nice. It's nicer to think positively than just walk in the struggle.
Yep.
But then when you sit down, you talk through and acknowledge. And I think from what you said is you're doing your best. You've done everything you could up until the point that things were out of your control. And even then, you're still doing your best.
Yep.
It's just the system, when you fall down, doesn't allow you to pick yourself back up.
No, it keeps you just surviving. Like it's almost like watching my fish die, you know. He was gasping for breath. And it's a bit like that when you are in survival mode, just living on a DSP. It's gasping for breath all the time, you know. And I am a very positive person. I through that last cancer journey, my thoughts had to stay positive. I'm not ready to die yet, you know. And so being positive helps in so many ways. And my mindset is always that. But then here's the reality. Reality check, you know. And I am vulnerable. I'm not Superwoman anymore. I'd like to be, but you know, you can't. You can only do what you can do, and I'll continue to do my best. But even the thought of having to go and get a job now after investing all those years and not being able to work, that's scary as for me. That's the other thing you don't do is you don't go to a shop and buy new clothes. You know, there's a charity where I get clothing from, and just the normal things in life that people take for granted, pretty much. Yeah. You know, it's hard because I've owned 3 properties in the past, 2 homes, and the dance studio investment property. And so once you've owned a home, it's just a very different feeling to having to rent. You know, you've always got Big Brother over you, and you can't do, I actually have done a lot of things to this home to beautify it, and I keep the garden, you know, beautiful and everything, and people don't...
You pride of it.
Yeah, it is.
How you look and
you know, the other day, my landlord said to me, "I've been good to you." And I said, "Yeah, and I've been really good to you. I'm a really good tenant. I've spent thousands actually on the gardens and everything and this home for you." And he said, "You didn't have to do that." And I thought, and I said to him, "No, I didn't." I said, "But I care. I care." It seems like I care more about his home, because I have to live in it, than he cares about it. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, something will work out, you know? Like, I'll just stay positive. It'll all work out in the long run. My name is Alison, and I believe that WA is no place for poverty.